We really have to ask a profound question, one that's literally baffled humanity for millennia. Just how big is the infinite abyss? I mean, is it just endlessness, or can it actually be measured? Keep that question in the back of your mind, because it's the key that unlocks our entire story today.
Here's the timeline that anchors our dramatic narrative. We've got 1845, the birth of a young genius; 1873, the infinite discovery; 1884, the mental collapse; and finally, 1918, the tragic end.
Chapter 1. The Rising Star, 1845 to 1872. So, picture this. In the late 1860s, Cantor was this brilliant, intensely focused up-and-comer in the German mathematical world. But he was about to step onto some seriously dangerous ground. See, for over 2,000 years, we're talking all the way back to Aristotle, the idea of the actual infinite was highly taboo. Conservative mathematicians warned that it should only ever be treated as an endless process, like a horizon you keep walking toward, but never, ever a completed, measurable destination. It was essentially forbidden territory.
Chapter 2. The Infinite Discovery, 1873 to 1874.
Now, this is where it gets crazy. Cantor boldly stared into this swirling galaxy of numbers, totally defied the mathematical establishment, and completely shattered 2,000 years of extreme caution. And in doing so, he almost single-handedly created what we now call set theory. It's a revolutionary framework that did the impossible. It actually turned the infinite from this vague, philosophical ghost into a concrete, measurable object.
But how do you actually compare the sizes of infinite sets? Well, think of it like ballroom dancers on a floor, right? If you want to know if there are more men or women, you don't count them, you just pair them up to dance. If no one's left standing alone, the groups are equal. Cantor did exactly this with numbers. If you pair every natural counting number, like 1, 2, 3, with an even number, 2, 4, 6, every single number finds a unique partner. So, counterintuitively, the infinity of all whole numbers is exactly the same size as the infinity of just the even numbers.
But here is where Cantor literally broke the universe. He discovered that real numbers, which includes all those endless messy decimals and fractions, cannot be paired with natural numbers. There are just too many of them. If you try to list them all out, a new one will always be left out. This proved an earth-shattering reality. Infinity actually comes in different sizes. Seriously, one infinity can be larger than another.
Now, Cantor knew his conservative gatekeepers would outright reject this mind-bending concept. No way they'd accept it. So what did he do? He built a mathematical Trojan horse. In 1874, he framed a paper safely around the accepted countability of algebraic numbers, used a proof from his friend Richard Dedekind nearly word for word as a decoy, and quietly smuggled his radical forbidden proof that real numbers are uncountable right into the publication. Brilliant, right?
Chapter 3. The Academic Persecution, 1874 to 1884.
You'd think he'd be celebrated as a genius for this monumental discovery. Nope. Instead, Cantor was thrown into a bitter, ugly war with the academic establishment. His primary tormentor was his former mentor, a powerful guy named Leopold Kronecker. Kronecker was a massive gatekeeper of mathematics who viciously defended the finite. He famously declared, "God made the integers, all else is the work of man." He demanded that math only exist in finite, measurable steps, and viewed Cantor's work as a massive threat.
And Kronecker wasn't just, a critic offering tough peer review. He actively and aggressively sabotaged Cantor. He publicly branded him a scientific charlatan and a corrupter of youth, literally claiming his mathematics of the infinite was total humbug. He systematically attacked Cantor's credibility at every single turn. Tragically, this persecution worked. Kronecker's immense shadow permanently blocked Cantor from a prestigious professorship in Berlin. Editors delayed or just flat-out rejected his papers, telling him his groundbreaking insights were 100 years too soon. So Cantor ended up trapped at a provincial university in Halle, completely isolated from the mathematical elite. Chapter 4. The Mental Collapse, 1884 to 1899.
By 1884, the relentless professional persecution, combined with the immense, agonizing mental weight of contemplating the infinite, it finally shattered Cantor's mind. He suffered a severe nervous breakdown and was confined to a desolate, cold psychiatric ward in Halle known as the Nervenklinik. He was battling cyclic manic depression, what we now call bipolar disorder. But remember, it's the late 19th century. There was no real medical treatment available. His only prescription was quiet solitude and rest.
During his manic periods, the lines between mathematics, madness, and theology completely blurred in his quest for the absolute. See, Cantor was a deeply religious man. He actually began writing to Catholic theologians and even the Pope, claiming his mathematical theories on infinity weren't just science. He believed they were dictated directly to him by the secret voice of God. He truly thought he was God's messenger for the infinite.
His descent into the shadows was just agonizing. He faced repeated, prolonged hospitalizations, often in solitary confinement. To escape the stress of math, he formulated these bizarre theories, like obsessively trying to prove that Francis Bacon actually wrote Shakespeare's plays and obsessing over the theology of infinite modes. But the final, most devastating blow came in 1899 with the sudden, tragic death of his youngest son, Rudolph. That heartbreak permanently fractured whatever fragile grip Cantor still had on reality.
Chapter 5. The Tragic End, 1918.
We now enter the haunting final act of a man who traveled to forbidden places in the human mind. It's winter 1918, in the middle of a war-torn Germany. Cantor is starving, isolated, and trapped once again in the sanatorium. Because of the ravages of World War I, there are severe food shortages. He feels utterly abandoned by his family in the mathematical world he had given absolutely everything to.
At just 72 years old, shy of his 73rd birthday, Georg Cantor died of heart failure. He passed away truly believing that his life's work was an absolute rejected failure.
Yet, time is the ultimate judge, isn't it? Cantor was eventually completely vindicated. Decades later, the brilliant mathematician David Hilbert cemented Cantor's legacy with a famous declaration: "No one shall expel us from the paradise that Cantor has created." And he was right. Today, Cantor's set theory is universally accepted as the fundamental bedrock of all modern mathematics.
So, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder. Did staring into the endless, incomprehensible abyss of the infinite destroy Georg Cantor's mind? Or was his uniquely wired, tormented mind the only possible vessel through which humanity could ever finally understand it? Take a moment to think about that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the